It's time to take a look at the light novels that we'll be picking up in the month of July of 2018. Hello everybody, Justus R. Stone here, and on this channel I cover everything about light novels. News, reviews, countdowns of the most popular titles in Japan, so if you love light novels, you should hit that subscribe button. In this video, I'm going to be going over all of the light novels that are going to be officially released in English during the month of July 2018. Now, if you're brand new to this series of videos, I do it in two parts. In the first part, I will cover all of the release dates, and I'll read the blurbs that are about any brand new volume number ones. In the second half of the video, I'll read the blurbs of all of the later volumes. This means that if you haven't caught up with the series yet, you can kind of avoid some of the spoilers that those blurbs contain. If there's any specific blurbs that you want to check out, I do have timestamps in the description down below, so you can just skip to whichever one you want. And if you want to keep up with all of the titles that are releasing and you want to pick some of them up, I do have links in the description down below to Amazon or the Book Depository so you can pick those titles up. On July 3rd, from Yen On, we have volume number 3 of The Empty Box and Zeroth Maria. This series, of course, how do you describe this series? It's a pretty twisted series about a group of individuals who constantly start getting caught in these different sort of mysterious circumstances that all seem to be orchestrated by this creature that has taken a perverse interest in them. It's actually a really cool series. I've read and reviewed volumes 1 and 2, and very much looking forward to volume number 3 on this one. On July 4th, from J-Novel Club, we have volume number 14 of Invaders of the Rokujouma, the ongoing saga about the single room in a rundown apartment building that, for some odd reason, a whole bunch of people want to gain control of it. It's a massive harem-type story, but delves into a whole bunch of weird and crazy kind of stuff. And from what I understand, as the series has been progressing, people have been telling me that it is a really good series and that it just seems to actually get better and grow into itself over time, which doesn't always happen. So pretty good series to jump on. Now, J-Novel Club releases this one monthly, so if you're going to jump onto this one, you're going to have to read fast if you want to keep up. On July 10th, from Seven Seas and J-Novel Club, volume number 7 of Grimgar of Fantasy and Ash. This is the print release of Grimgar volume number 7. Volume 7 was previously released by J-Novel Club in ebook format. If you're not familiar, J-Novel and Seven Seas have kind of a publishing deal where J-Novel Club has taken these books and already released them and translated them everything in ebook format, and then they have a deal that Seven Seas, well, I guess Seven Seas makes the decisions themselves in terms of what they want to publish, but Seven Seas then turns around and picks up some of J-Novel's titles and publishes them in physical format. There's actually 2 of those on the list this month that are getting released. So Grimgar volume number 7, of course, is the dark sort of isekai fantasy series. This one, I read the first volume, takes a much harder, darker kind of approach and more, for lack of a better term, realistic view of just what kind of terrible things might happen to you if you were suddenly summoned to another world and told that you had to fight monsters and demons and such to protect the human race. Yeah, it doesn't really sugarcoat things, which made it very interesting to me. It's a series that I keep hoping that I can get back to and pick up. It's still well ongoing in Japan. That I believe actually volume 13 just released in Japan. On July 12th, from J-Novel Club, volume number 9 of In Another World with My Smartphone. This one, of course, the saga of Toya, who gets sent to another world with his smartphone and uses it to access all kinds of information so that he can create all sorts of wild and crazy things in this world that has no idea what any of these things are, and well, he just goes on wild adventures with him and his ever-increasing harem of cute, beautiful girls. I read the first couple books of this one. You know what? It's one of those series that is a lot of fun, very much wears its heart on its sleeve, and you almost just kind of have to laugh at it because it really just goes wherever the author really wants. I mean, this series has had everything from the invention of bicycles to the invention of ice cream to mecha robots. I mean, seriously, it's gone all over the place. So it is a lot of fun. There was an anime based on this one. I don't think the anime got a lot of love, but it strikes me that the light novels seem to have a lot more fans of it than what the anime was able to do. But again, that one, pretty good series. Something to read when you're looking for just something kind of fun and not too heavy-handed. On July 15th from J-Novel Club, Volume number 4 of The Magic in This Other World is Too Far Behind. This one, an interesting series. I've read the first volume. It's basically an isekai again, but the boy who is summoned as the hero isn't the main character. In fact, 2 of his friends got accidentally dragged along with him into this other world. But the catch is that his one friend is secretly a magician in our world. And I mean like real magic. And of course, he gets pulled into this other world where magic is actually a thing that he doesn't have to hide. But it turns out that the magic that he has learned in our world is ridiculously OP compared to the magic in this other world. And so, as far as I know, the story is going to kind of follow the 2 tracks of, like, his friends who have decided to help these people and fight the demons, which, you know, sort of status quo for these kind of things, and then following the main character who is trying to find a way home. Yeah, so it's kind of a cool series. Now, I'll just let you know ahead of time, I won't be reading a blurb for Volume 4, because for whatever reason, Volume number 4's blurb on every site I could find is actually the blurb from volume number 3. So I don't know how that happened, but so yeah, I'll be skipping the blurb if you're wondering why there's no timestamp for that. That's why. On July 17th, we get a couple of titles. First, from Yen On, we get volume number 10 of Durarara. This one, of course, the urban fantasy series about gang warfare, as well as about a headless phantom courier who rides a motorcycle. Pretty neat series, and in terms of its setting, very unlike a great deal of the other sort of supernatural type series that we have. Also releasing on July 17th, volume number 4 of Magical Girl Raising Project. This one also from Yen On, the ongoing story of magical girls forced to fight to the death. Yeah, if you like your magical girls violent, this is definitely a series to check out. Finally, on July 17th, and this is from J-Novel Club, we have volume number 2 of The Unwanted Undead Adventurer. This one about an adventurer who, yes, quite literally is killed at the very beginning of the series and then comes back as an undead. And it's his journey trying to reclaim his humanity as well as to become a better adventurer. I haven't had a chance to read volume number 1 yet. I do actually have it. That's probably something that I'll be reading in the next like 2 to 3 weeks. I'm taking a break from a whole bunch of number 1s so I can try and whittle away at my pile of ongoing series that I've been reading, but this is definitely one that I will be reviewing on the channel. Volume number 1, like I said, hopefully before volume number 2 comes out. On July 20th, from J-Novel Club, we have volume number 6 of Demon King Daimaou. This one, the series about a boy who has grand visions of making a better world, and when he arrives at the Magical Academy, they tell him that his foretold future is to become a demon lord and the enemy of the world. Kind of it's an action, magical high school harem type series, a bit of comedy in it. I read the first volume. I thought it wasn't bad. Definitely the setup was interesting. I was kind of curious to see where they took it. I haven't had a chance to get back to any of the other volumes. If you're reading this one, you can let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. On July 23rd, also from J Novel Club, volume number 4 of How Not to Summon a Demon Lord. The story of a boy summoned in the guise of his RPG persona and decides that he's basically going to roleplay as a demon lord because as a gamer who's spent much of his time alone in his basement, he really has no social skills. And so he decides to hide kind of behind the persona of his character, who is this incredibly OP demon lord. The series is actually getting an anime, I believe. Actually, I believe it starts in July, funny enough. And it... bit of a comedy, bit of action, magic, fighting, and ecchi. Lots and lots of ecchi. In fact, it sounds like the ecchi scenes get a little racier as the series goes on. It'll be interesting to see how the anime handles all that. I am going to guess with black bars and blurry fuzzy white lines. That's going to be my guess. Finally, on July 31st, we've got a couple of titles from a couple of different publishers. First off, from Cross Infinite World, we have a brand new series coming out from them, and this one is an ongoing series, and in fact, I do believe this is the first series that Cross Infinite World has licensed from a publisher as opposed to having a deal directly with the author themselves. And this one is called Dawn of the Mapmaker, the Surveyor Girl and the Forbidden Knowledge. Knowledge is power, and you shouldn't possess this knowledge. In an age where mapmaking is a lost art, Unen hides her skill from the world at large. But when she accepts a local landlord's request to survey the boundary between his land and that of a neighboring lord's, her maps accidentally give away her existence to a master swordsman and a cunning mage, a duo who have been hunting down the man who taught her the forbidden knowledge of mapmaking. As one of the rare few capable of creating maps with bird's eye precision, Unen's fate hangs precariously in the balance as she endeavors to survive in a world of people who want to own her or see her dead. So this one sounds actually like a pretty cool series. I really like how Cross Infinite World has these very different titles. Like this one is on map making. I just reviewed their release, Mia and the Forbidden Medicine Report, and again, like it's a girl about trying to cure disease. I kind of like how their series, and maybe it's partly because they focus very much on sort of shoujo or like titles that feature strong female characters, but maybe that's why there's a bit more diversity other than just the usual let's go kill the demon lord. But I do like the fact that there's a bit of variety in their titles and that the skills that their characters have are diverse. Also on July 31st from Yen On, we have volume number 3 of So I'm a Spider. So what? The tale of a girl who is taken to another world and is reincarnated as a, well, you guessed it, spider. I read volume number 1 and I have to admit it was surprisingly better than I thought it would be. I do have volume number 2 that I'm going to be reading again, hopefully before volume number 3 comes out. The one nice thing about July, if you haven't caught on, is there's not as many titles, so hopefully it'll allow me to do some catch up. But volume number 2, I have heard from quite a few of you, is quite excellent, if not better than the first volume. So I'm quite anxious to check that one out. Also on July 31st from Yen On, we have volume number 3 of The Saga of Tanya the Evil. The tale of a Japanese salaryman who dies, makes an enemy of God, and then finds himself reincarnated as a cute young blonde girl gifted with terrible magical powers, so she is thrust into the middle of a world war, which is very heavily based on World War Well, one or two. I think it's World War II, but it's kind of hard to tell exactly. But anyway, based on a world war, very roughly, it's all obviously an alternate world and all the rest of that jazz. But much more of like a military type series. The first volume, definitely a cool series if you're into like tactics and almost borderline military fiction as opposed to the isekai bend, but I haven't read volume 2 yet. I do have a copy of it. I really liked volume number 1. It was quite different, but again, not going to be for everybody, just based on what you like. But a pretty cool series with a lot, obviously, of thought and research behind sort of the military thoughts and, you know, actions of the characters in the books. Finally, from Yen on July 31st, we have a brand new series premiering, and that is World End. What do you do at the end of the world? Are you busy? Will you save us? Everyone wants to be remembered. Untold years after the strange beasts drove humanity to extinction, Willem emerges from his slumber as the sole survivor. A new civilization of various other races has risen on the floating islands, but there's no place for a featureless human among them. After aimlessly wandering for a time, Willem grudgingly accepts a job with the military, only to discover that the weapons he watches over are in fact young fairies. As he slowly learns more about the children and how they're linked to his past, the war with the beast grows increasingly desperate. When the girls prepare to fight a hopeless battle, is there anything a lone human can do? This one did have an anime series. It was only based, as far as I know, on the first 3 volumes. So this is actually I believe there's 6 volumes, and I know there's a sequel series that's currently ongoing in Japan. I'm actually really looking forward to this one. It just sounds kind of cool to me. I like sort of the whole man out of time. I know the isekai, of course, is man out of his world, but and this is sort of a similar bend, but I always like kind of seeing that idea of having a character who knew what the world was like, and then him discovering how the world he knew became the world that he's in. I don't know. I kind of like those sort of secrets and history and lore and those kind of type stories. I'm interested to see what this one is like. Also, this one is going to be another summer reading title for EnglishLightNovels.com. We're going to be talking about this one in August. So if you pick this one up and read it and you want to read a spoiler-filled text chat between a couple of people and then pitch in on your side in the comments, watch for that in August. When that goes live, I'll probably add it to I'll be doing a review of World End, so I'll add it to the description then. Finally, in July, on July 31st, this one from 7 Seas, it's the second of their printing of J-Novel Club titles, and that is volume number 3 of Occultic 9. This series, how to even describe this series? I'm not too sure. It starts sort of focusing on a main character who runs a blog that tries to debunk the occult, but seems to involve a whole bunch of other characters and eventually kind of getting together into this sort of weird, big world-altering event. I'm not too sure. The first volume had a lot of stuff going on in it and a lot of different characters, and I'm not too sure where it's going, but it was pretty interesting. I'll give it that. So those are all the titles that are going to be releasing in July of 2018. Like I said, there's 15 titles this month, which, funny enough, is quite light compared to a lot of other months. It's funny, when I started this channel, I didn't think I'd get to the point where I would say 15 titles coming out in a single month was light. But here we are, only a couple years later, which is pretty awesome if you're a fan of light novels. So again, I'm going to start reading the blurbs for the later volumes. They will contain spoilers, of course, for earlier volumes. So if you want to skip those, you can end the video here. I do remind you that if you want to pick up any of these books, I do have links again in the description down below to Amazon and the book depository. I also have the release dates, so if you want to go over those again, you can sort of see when things are releasing. And if there's a specific blurb that you want to see me read, I do have the timestamps in the description down below as well, so you can skip to that instead of hearing ones that you may not want to hear. So all to help you avoid spoilers. July 3rd, Volume 3 of The Empty Box and Zeroth Maria. Can you do what it takes to survive? This time, Kazuki and Maria find themselves trapped in a game of deception and betrayal with 4 other students from their school. Despite being pitted against each other, the two once again work together in an effort to break the box's hold. But as the stakes rise and the game grows increasingly twisted, it becomes clear that this is no ordinary wish, and that the owner may be impossible to convince. What kind of person could have created such a box? July 4th, Volume 14, Invaders of the Rokujouma. In this special collection of stories, new and old friends alike appear. Shizuka tells the story of how she lost her parents. She also comes to learn of the very special power that's been sleeping within her, and just what consequences that has for her. Waistline? Eureka goes on a little quest to try and find herself, or rather, herselves. And finally, the story of how Kotaro knows Thea's mother. July 10th, Volume 7 of Grimgar of Fantasy and Ash. To find a way home. Haruhiro and the others narrowly escape the Dusk Realm, only to find themselves in a world that isn't Grimgar. A world where the sun never rises. Abandoned by Lala and Nono, the party must rely on their own wits to survive in this world of night. But when a faint chance of returning home to Grimgar appears, will they take it, even if it means risking their lives? And is Grimgar truly their home? Or is it somewhere else entirely? July 12th, Volume 9, In Another World with My Smartphone. Mochizuki Toya continues his work as a Grand Duke of Brunhild. He's the proud inheritor of the almost complete Babylon Islands, the mighty master of the frame gear mechs, and a slowly flowering bud of divine power. But that doesn't mean he has any room to relax. The time has come for answers. A new threat emerges within the Roadmare Union. But can Toya convince the mighty Doge that his frame gears are the right method to deal with the oncoming danger? Just who is the enigmatic Ende? And what does he have to do with the crystal creatures that so recklessly bring the world closer to despair? Just what is the secret of Toya's divinity? Put on your thinking caps for a tale of swords, sorcery, and custom-built mechatronics. July 17th, Volume 10, Durarara. Ikebukuro, Tokyo. The dollars and anyone associated with them have been disappearing one after the other. Is it because those who once called themselves comrades have decided to strike off on their own? Maybe it's because of a plot concocted by the adults of the Awakusu group, the black market dealers, and the information brokers? July 17th, Volume 4, Magical Girl Raising Project. The violence continues in the 4th installment of Magical Girl Raising Project. Numbers dwindle as alliances grow. Do these girls have what it takes to win it all? And on a side note, apparently this is like an anthology volume. It has short stories, I believe, coming from the first 2 story arcs of Magical Girl Raising Project. July 17th, Volume 2 of The Unwanted Undead Adventurer. Rent Faina has achieved existential evolution, evolving from a skeleton into a ghoul. His next objective, rising the ranks and becoming a copper-class adventurer. But to do so, Rent must face his next greatest challenge. A written test? Using his years of wisdom and the help of 2 companions, Rent tackles the challenge head-on. But the worst is yet to come, as Rent finds himself in yet another pickle as he tries to prove his innocence to none other than trusted guild member Sheila, as she raises concerns over his potential involvement in a recent string of adventurer disappearances. On his journey, he accepts a new quest, leading him to a new area that pits him face to face with a mighty monster of the bog. Will Rent make it out alive to prove his uninvolvement in the disappearances and retrieve a highly valued medicinal herb? Or is this the second end to the fate of our hero as we know him? July 20th, Volume 6, Demon King Daimaou. Constant Magical Academy has a new transfer student named Kana Dorons. Not only does she have almost the same name as Akuto's friend Kina, but she also has an identical bird-shaped hairpiece, the same one that Akuto bought for a crying girl when he was a child. Who's the real girl from his memory? To make things more confusing, this unknown girl is demanding that Akuto take her on a date. Hilarity and magical school shenanigans ensue when Kana joins Kina, Junko, Korone, and Fujiko as they circle around our favorite hapless demon king, Akuto Sai. July 23rd, Volume 4, How Not to Summon a Demon Lord. After being summoned to another world similar to the game he used to play, Diablo lives a tumultuous life in this new world after he finds himself the unwitting master of Rem the Pantherian and Shera the Elf. And now, even the demon lord turned young girl Clem obeys him. One day, Diablo ends up rescuing a holy woman who was being pursued by a paladin, and she turns out to be the most important person in the church. Befriending her, Diablo and the others act as her escorts until they reach Zircon Tower deep in the Demon Lord's territory. After arriving in a new town, more difficulties arise, ultimately culminating in the appearance of a gargantuan monster attacking them. Is the self-proclaimed Demon Lord becoming a guardian deity for a follower of the gods? This is the fourth volume of the adventure of an earth-shakingly powerful demon lord, or at least someone who acts like one, taking on another world. July 31st, Volume 3, So I'm a Spider. So what? Who knew being strong meant going hungry? After making it through the fiery middle stratum and evolving again, things have been a cakewalk for me. And also one of the worst times of my life. I've gotten so strong that every living thing is avoiding me like the plague. Even monsters that wouldn't leave me alone for a second are running away like their lives depend on it. I mean, all I want to do is eat them. Is that too much to ask for? At this point, about the only thing that won't flee the moment it sees me is the earth dragon Araba, and I sure as hell can't have that for a meal. Right? July 31st, Volume 3, The Saga of Tanya the Evil. Contrary to her dearest wish to find a safe place and stay there, Major Tanya von de Guruchev continues to wade through the fog of war with her troops on land, at sea, and in the air. After many battles with the increasingly numerous enemies of the Empire, a chance for a breakthrough finally appears. But when her comrades begin celebrating the glories they've reaped, savoring the sweet nectar of imminent triumph, Tanya alone is frozen in fear. Has the Empire decisively won the war? Or is this nothing more than a Pyrrhic victory? July 31st, Volume 3 of Occultic 9. Do you believe in ghosts? Yuta Gamon's name has turned up on the list of casualties from the 256 incident, an apparent mass suicide by drowning that left 256 people dead. Refusing to believe that he might be dead, Gamon and former FBI agent Asuna Kizaki investigate the incident, uncovering a connection to the mysterious Hachifukushin Circle, rogue medical practitioners, secret experiments, and a conspiracy that might just transcend even death. So those are all your titles coming out in the month of July 2018. Which ones are you looking forward to? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you're brand new to the channel and you love light novels, you should subscribe. I do this video once a month, as well as doing weekly reviews and countdowns of the top 10 best-selling light novels in Japan. Thank you so much for joining me in this video. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Till then, bye-bye for now.